So I'd like to introduce to speak with us now is Margarita Astrálaga, and I apologize for not introducing you in the beginning. Let me just tell you a little bit. Margarita was until recently, the Director of the Environment, Climate, Gender and Social Inclusions Division at the International Fund for Agriculture Development. She leads a dynamic team to mainstream environment, climate, gender and social inclusion solutions, looks at policies and ensures the highest social, environmental and climate safeguards are applied. And we're so thrilled to have her joining us today, so please give her a warm welcome.
Thank you, Liz, and good afternoon, everyone. First, I would like to start by thanking Christina for this opportunity because it's really a great pleasure to be here today. I'm very pleased to see that we have an event about women, but we also have a few men. So thank you, men, for being here, because throughout my career talking about women, every time we meet, we are all women talking to women. So it's great that we have a few spies with us here sharing this event with us and maybe helping us with the recommendations that will be put forward. I think like the others, I think I have a very, we have, as it was mentioned by Silvia, we have several things that connect all of us. I started by snorkeling, I think, as many children start. And I was always wondering, what if I could go deeper? What would I find if I go deeper? So finally, of course, I ended up by getting into scuba diving. And with what I've done all my life working for the oceans, I always wonder if it could be made obligatory for the politicians to become scuba divers. It should be a criteria so that they understand this 70% of the earth that they don't know anything about. And unfortunately, many of them and many politicians around the world live giving their backs to the sea. So it's, I think, an idea for the criteria we can propose on the recommendations. So I'm very proud to talk today about one of the areas, and I'm just going to present a short video on one of the many threats affecting our oceans and our marine biodiversity. And this area is very close to my heart because that was my first job in the Colombian government. And I continued working on this area at the international level. So I would like then first to share my video, and I will share a few other ideas with you after the video. Thank you.
Hello, friends and colleagues. I am Margarita Astrálaga, a Colombian biologist who, since I was a little girl, have been mesmerized by the sea. For many years, I worked towards abating marine pollution and protecting our coastal zones and our biodiversity hotspots. Today, after decades working towards achieving a sustainable future for all, I'm here to share some of my thoughts about the importance of making sure this important conference promotes effective commitment and action to deal with the many needs our oceans are facing today. As I worked for many years on issues related to research and control of anthropological marine pollution, I would like to refer to Target 1 of SDG 14. As you know, we all committed in September 2015 that by the year 2025, which is around the corner, we would have reduced substantially all sources of marine pollution. But unfortunately, the majority of publications analyzing progress regarding this particular target are very pessimistic about the possibility of coming close to achieving this key target. Marine pollution affects human health, and the health of our ecosystems and marine resources, that, as we know, are key to combat poverty and malnutrition in the developing world. From my own experience, carrying out this task is expensive and time-consuming, and many developing countries lack the funding to undertake the systematic work and reporting that is required. There are so many environmental problems that countries are facing. It's not easy then to prioritize the attention to coastal areas and the sea, as they seem infinite to many. The sense of urgency that, for example, the climate crisis is generating is not there for marine pollution. We know, for example, that marine litter and plastics waste are expected to triple by 2040. So how can we control these at the national level to prevent this litter and waste reaching international waters? How can we effectively reduce the type and amounts of pollutants reaching our coastal areas and our high seas? Every time we meet, we discuss the solutions. So it's not the lack of knowledge that is impeding us to take action. Today, I would like to remind all of us of some of those solutions that the majority of us know very well. First, we need a strong political will and also public involvement to influence the decisions taken by our governments on priorities and budget allocations. Second, we also need accountability from the part of the decision makers, who make many promises before elections, but then when they are elected, they continue supporting the business as usual approach. Third, we need to have clearly differentiated targets at the national and international levels. At the national levels, countries should all be reporting on measures of control and levels and types of pollutants released at sea. Fourth, we need research institutions to provide the evidence on the type of amounts of pollutants entering the sea and promoting the research to find technological solutions to solve the problems we are facing. We need also the local governments to keep the public well informed and enforce fully the implementation of existing legislation. And six, we need the private sector to embrace the technologies and respect the national and international legislation. I don't have time today to cover now the urgency of taking action on all targets of SDG 14, but I would like to stress that it's of paramount importance to design and apply policy which will guarantee full implementation of all 7 targets of SDG 14, as well as monitor and report on the results of their implementation at the national level. In my view, this is the only way we can ensure the sustainable use of our precious 70% of planet Earth.
So it's for somebody who has been working in this business for more than 3 decades, it's a bit depressing to come to that conclusion. Because, of course, we have all worked so hard, and we work also hard every day, but still the solutions are not implemented. And I think Inés mentioned that we know the solutions, or some of the solutions, but why is it that our politicians don't help us implement those solutions? We also discussed the role of the private sector. So this morning I was, and I love the film, Liz, that you presented, because this morning I was chatting to Sylvia about this event, Sylvia Earle, and saying that for me she was an inspiring force when women were not in science. There were, of course, if we look at science and female scientists, we see that there was one in 1848, and so there were 2 or 3 that were famous. But Sylvia really was, of course, of the ones I managed to meet, the other ones didn't. But talking to Sylvia when she was in the US government, it made me feel full of hope. There was hope for the US. Sorry, I don't know if there are any Americans here. But at that time, I really thought that the environment and the planet could be much better with somebody as wise as Sylvia. So when we look at the number of scientists, female scientists today, first, it's great. I don't know if all the Portuguese scientists here know, but Portugal and Brazil, according to UNESCO, have the largest number of female scientists in the world, which is something to feel very proud of. And as a Colombian, I envy you, because to be honest, in Colombia, it's very difficult to be a female scientist. Well, a scientist. Female is even worse. When I decided to go for biology, they told me, so what is your plan in life? To wear a white coat for the rest of your life, or to teach high school or primary school? Because with biology, there is nothing else you can do in life. So I was lucky in a way. Susana is gone, but that I didn't stay just in the lab, but I decided that to make a difference, I needed to go up in the management of the institutions, to make them understand how important our environment and our natural resources were. So it was a tough job to get there, because I remember my first interview, they told me a biologist cannot be a manager. You are not trained to be a manager. Okay, so we biologists should stay doing biology for all our career. But yeah, I proved them wrong. So, and that's thanks to education, education, education. And also the fact that my family made sure that I was brought up understanding that I had the same rights and the same duties, and that if I wanted to, I could get wherever I wanted to. And here is where women are so important, because here we are to talk about women and the sea. And we have a group of women here that are doing great work in the seas, in different areas of the seas. So how can we contribute more efficiently and more effectively to this change the world needs? How can we make sure that all our voices are heard? And how can we get better organized to make our politicians accountable to their promises? So I think when we see how we deal with work, with children, with mother, with father, with aunts, with uncles, with brothers, when they get divorced, etc., we see that we are perfect multitaskers. So we need to use that ability of multitasking to make a difference. And here in this conference, I think we should all make sure that that message that Marianela gave in the beginning, we can create together. And then Sylvia with passion and commitment. So we matter, and our voices should matter. So I invite all of us to think about our cetaceans, our coral reefs, our sea level rise, and what can we all, each of us, do, but also how can we make sure that the ones that can take the decisions really are accountable to implementing those decisions. Thank you.